I've said it many times before, Halloween is my favorite horror franchise. The character of Michael Myers is among the most iconic in horror, and him being synonymous with the Halloween season is great. It's only natural that I do a ranking of my favorites of the franchise, right? I'd be lying if I said this franchise doesn't have a few bad movies, but I don't really care. I love them as a whole, and even though I can point out the bad, I can also appreciate the movies for what they are. This ranking will be, again, based on my personal favorites and not the ones I necessarily think are the best. My list will be very different from others, but that's what makes being a fan fun. So with that being said, I am your host, a dude called Jay, and this is my ranking of all 13 films from my least favorite to my favorite. Number 13, Halloween Ends. I really wanted to like Halloween Ends. It has its fans, but as a standalone, I'm not really a fan of it. I've been a fan of the franchise for as long as I can remember, so of course, I do have a bias towards the older films. I hated what they did with Michael Myers in this movie. He was hella nerfed, and the movie didn't even focus on the threat that he should have been. Yeah, I get the movie is supposed to focus on the shape itself, and how it can affect other people outside of Michael, but this is supposed to be the big finale. This wasn't the time to do that. I'll even go out on a limb and say that Corey is actually a cool character, but this wasn't the time to introduce and focus on him. Laurie's entire story from the 2018 film, and Kills, is seemingly gone, and I found that really unrealistic. Laurie is completely off here. The entire 2018 battle-ready Laurie was gone until the last 15 minutes of this movie. Even with her daughter dying in the previous movie, she just seemingly doesn't care to kill Michael anymore. This movie just wasn't a good follow-up with all Halloween Kills set up. Overall, I just didn't care for it.
What was that?
Number 12, Halloween Resurrection. On most people's lists, this would be the worst. The only reason it beats out Ends here is because it's one of those movies that it's so bad, it's good, and doesn't insult the viewer's intelligence. They killed off Laurie Strode in the first 15 minutes, which was an incredibly dumb idea. However, they had the chance to do something really cool. He should have either went after his nephew John, or do what he did when he went home to kill. That would have been Michael with no motivation, which should be scarier, but we got Busta Rhymes, a bland final girl, and a cast of bodies for Michael to kill. I didn't mind the idea of them investigating the Myers house, but the execution was terrible. I will say though, I didn't mind this. It's silly, but it is funny. It ended on sequel bait, but we never got a follow-up to this, as they made a remake of the original film. Speaking of which, number 11, Rob Zombie's Halloween. A remake that was absolutely not needed, but apparently has a shit ton of fans. At one point, this was the worst to me. It just felt super offensive, the stereotypical reasoning for Michael becoming what he is. I just didn't care. However, I've actually grown to sort of not mind it. I actually am a fan of Rob Zombie's movies. He has his own unique style, and they have a certain grungy charm to them, but as Halloween films, no. What made me not hate his Halloween films is that they're in their own universe. Rob's take on Halloween doesn't have the shape, just a killer who kills due to his environment. Lame, yeah, but the second half was mostly good. Mostly because it was a shot-for-shot remake of John Carpenter's movie, just modernized. I will say that it at least feels like a Halloween film in terms of seasonal cinematography and music. Adult Michael also looks great and is menacing. Number 10, Halloween Kills. Of the Blumhouse trilogy of the Halloween films, I had the most fun with this in theaters. Michael was a complete badass here. He looked great, had brutal kills, and was truly unstoppable. All great things. However, what brought it down was the overall story and execution. Laurie is pretty much down and out this whole movie, so it's really just Michael going around killing while the whole town of Haddonfield goes crazy in search for Michael. They really just spend the movie rioting in the hospital, being idiots, while only a few of them actually run into Michael towards the end of the movie. I think the most fun part to me was during the mob beatdown. I actually felt bad for Michael, but during that fight, Laurie gives dialogue that sets up something for Ends that goes nowhere.
The more he kills, the more he transcends into something else.
which leads to Michael getting up and killing the entire mob, including Laurie's daughter, Karen. Shame that they really didn't follow up on that. Number 9, Halloween 2018. While I do technically think this is one of the better films of the franchise, it's not one of my favorites due to me just being bored with a portion of the movie. It's a direct sequel to the original and pretty much just does what the original does just 40 years later. Laurie's now obsessed with Michael and the thought of killing Michael, as that night in 1978 ruined her life, even more so recently as her relationship with her daughter and granddaughter is strained. The movie itself got a lot right. Michael was finally back and had zero motivation, with the brother-sister storyline being gone. The music was fantastic. The Halloween atmosphere was finally back after being gone for years. The movie did play it safe though. As I said, it just went back to the basics. The parts that bored me were mostly the teenage characters in the school dance. The movie just slows down there a bit. The Sartain character was also weird and could have just not been there. Overall, the sequel was solid, just not one of my favorites.
Oh shit!
Number 8, Halloween H2O. Halloween H2O is also technically a good film in the franchise. Not only do I prefer it to the 2018 film, I actually think it's better than the 2018 film. The only thing holding it back is the feeling of it being tame compared to the previous sequels. I get that it's trying to scale back and be in line with the original movie, but it's 1998 at this point. We've seen so much action between that movie and this one. It also feels similar to the other movies at the time, and the Halloween holiday atmosphere isn't there. The score also isn't very great outside of the opening titles. Why do I say it's one of the better films though? The story completely carries it. Laurie Strode is back after an almost 20-year hiatus and is living under a new name and location. She now has a son, but is still plagued by the memory of what her brother did all those years ago. Michael eventually makes his way to where Laurie is, and she must protect her son at all costs. We see the struggle she goes through. She's now an alcoholic, but is also balancing being a parent and the headmistress at a school. Once there, we get the kills and the confrontation between Michael and Laurie, which was great. Laurie has to overcome her fears, and she does that in spades. It would have made an excellent end to the franchise, but you know, money talks.
Hi.
Number 7, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Now this one I could see people disagreeing with me, and that's fine, but I like it. It took a while for me to get into it, and I eventually grew to really like it. There are many things in this movie that I liked. The first 15 minutes were awesome. Michael looked even more great, the kills were amazing, and I really liked this new version of Laurie. This movie feels more in line with what Rob Zombie probably wanted to do with his first entry. This one focuses more on Laurie Strode and her trauma. Trauma affects everyone differently, and we see that Laurie is a completely different person. She's definitely more emotional and lashes out at her best friend, Annie, from time to time. This is the movie where she finds out that she's Michael's sister, and the psychological take the movie has shows the inside of both siblings' minds. While a slasher on the surface, it's also a psychological horror at its core. The movie is grungy and brooding, and I was just entertained throughout. I even liked the Hobo Myers look.
Michael, for God in heaven.
Number 6, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. A very strange take on Halloween. The Curse of Michael Myers tries to add more mythos and reasoning behind Michael's madness. While technically, Halloween 5 introduced the Thorn plotline, this one expanded on it, and it was highly unnecessary. Why is it ranked this high though? Firstly, nostalgia is a motherfucker, and I watched this a lot as a kid on AMC. Secondly, Michael was actually really good in this movie. Up to this point, he was the most brutal here. The October atmosphere was present, and the new score was a chef's kiss. Definitely a product of his time, but the 90s happens to be my favorite decade, so that helps. Michael is after his newborn nephew, the son of Jamie Lloyd. Protecting him though is Tommy Doyle, a character from the first film, and Kara Strode, a college student who happens to be living in the Myers house with her family, who also happen to be relatives of the family who adopted Laurie. Now, I prefer the theatrical cut by far, but there are fans of the producer's cut, which goes even further into the Thorn cult story. It also marks the final Halloween film for Donald Pleasence as Dr. Loomis. Rest in peace.
I heard the old quack was dead.
Not dead. just very much retired.
Number 5, Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Yet another pick on my list, mostly because of nostalgia. As time is going on, I see the clear flaws of this movie. There's issues with the editing, the cast is a downgrade from Halloween 4, and it doesn't have the same level of atmosphere as Halloween 4 does. What I don't have a problem with is the mask. No, it's not great. Does it have a resemblance to Nicolas Cage? Sure, but it's not bad, and I always saw it as Michael being angry, hence The Revenge of Michael Myers. Michael is definitely more angry here, and he actually picks up more of the stalking shtick that he did in the first movie. Loomis is even more unhinged here, but that's understandable. He's tired of Michael and he wants him dead no matter what. The shining star here is Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd. Her performance here completely trumps Halloween 4, and it's crazy how much better she got within a year's time. I didn't mind the psychic link between her and Michael either, but choices were made with some characters that were highly questionable. Halloween 5 is a weird one, but I love it for what it is.
Big woman.
A big woman? A big woman who works in the store.
Number 4, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. The black sheep of the franchise. Halloween 3 is a movie I grew to absolutely love. With Michael Myers not being in this film, it had big shoes to fill, and well, critically, it didn't. Years later though, it's become a cult classic and is a really unique entry in the franchise. The focus on science fiction here is a welcome change, and it's actually a lot more gory than the first two movies. Halloween 3 has a really dark and evil atmosphere that's aided by the incredible score from Alan Howarth and John Carpenter. The story centers around a doctor helping a young girl find out the reasoning behind her father's untimely and mysterious death. There's sci-fi, horror, gore, and some really cool Halloween masks. It's 80s horror at its finest, and I do agree that it would have had a better chance had it not been in this franchise, but I fully accept it for being so. This and the first two films are Halloween Day essentials for me, and a much preferred trilogy over the Blumhouse trilogy.
The Immortal Classic, followed by the big giveaway at 9, brought to you by...
Number 3, Halloween 2 from 1981. The perfect example of getting a sequel right. Halloween 2 to me is the perfect sequel to the first movie. It literally follows the events of the first movie on the same night. The music was elevated to that 80s synth, the kills were more brutal, and this version of Michael was a masterpiece. He was human yet inhuman at the same time. He was much more deliberate and robotic in nature, which made him scarier. The movie is also a bit more chaotic in nature at times, in contrast to the original movie, almost like a calm before the storm. Despite Laurie being relegated to a hospital bed, much like Halloween Kills, she at least here gets out of bed and fights for her survival. The difference here is it's revealed that Michael and Laurie are siblings, giving him a motivation. Even with that, it's still a great plot point. The hospital setting also makes it feel like a contained movie with Michael being anywhere at any time. I just think it's a really fun sequel.
Amazing Grace, come sit on my face. Don't make me cry, I need your pie.
Number 2, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. This one is my favorite sequel, hands down. From the opening of the movie to the portrayal of Michael Myers, it was a damn near perfect sequel to Halloween 2. After Season of the Witch being a commercial failure, it was an obvious choice to bring back Michael Myers, this time pursuing his niece, Jamie. Danielle Harris's portrayal as Jamie was phenomenal, and you really feel sympathy for her. They also had a Laurie Strode-esque character in Rachel, Jamie's adoptive sister. People complain about the mask here, but it never really bothered me. Yeah, it does look goofy at times, but if you look at it with Loomis's "the blackest eye" speech, it works. After being set on fire in Halloween 2, Michael in a way is like a ghostly figure, even more of the shape. Dr. Loomis also returns here and is great. The atmosphere is up there with the movies before it, and the ending would have been a really cool full circle moment, but of course, sequel kind of messed that up. Regardless, I love it.
God damn you.
And number 1, John Carpenter's Halloween. No surprise here, my favorite Halloween film is the original. It really started all of this and introduced some of horror's most iconic characters. It's in the late 70s, nearing that 80s time period, so it was the perfect time for it to be released. Michael Myers was at his most pure form here. No motivations, creepy, and extremely stealthy. He seemed unstoppable even with him being stalled by Laurie sometimes. The appearance of Michael was also great here. Loomis's dialogue for The Shape was perfect throughout the entire movie and set up some cool mythos for Michael without having any backstory or reasoning. Laurie Strode also became the blueprint for Final Girls for years after this. The way the story was written, the atmosphere, and the music all together is just infused to the Halloween season to me, much like Halloween's 2, 3, and 4. It's a very simple movie, but effective and influential. I just feel like it's the measuring stick of slasher films, and if this were wrestling, this would be like the Undertaker of the company. John Carpenter and his team knew exactly what they were doing with this one. It's a staple of the Halloween season and will forever be my #1 ranked movie of the franchise.
Because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
And there you have it, my Halloween franchise ranking. Again, this is my personal favorites. We all have our favorites. Halloween is near and dear to my heart, and regardless of what I ranked each movie, I love them all. Feel free to comment your rankings, and I do plan on making more of these videos for other franchises. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe for future content. Take care, y'all.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.